It's not really healthy for those of us living down here. And we're basically the bread basket, or the fruit basket, I mean, of San Diego and Los Angeles. So there's a lot of people that, they depend on the food from this place. And, but at the same time, a portion of the population is suffering health problems as a result. And this is stuff you don't hear about. It's stuff you don't hear about in the news. So, there's a couple thousand people here, and then there's even more people here now because of this fear of immigration, or this fear of illegal immigrants coming over the border. And it's like, yeah, what kind of, if you don't want immigrants, don't give immigrants a reason to come. And then on top of that, how many illegal immigrants do we have in the country now? 11 million? Come on, guys. 11 million people have crossed the border and decided to set up shop. And, no, we need to get rid of them. We need to kick them out. Come on. That is freaking cold-blooded ridiculous. What kind of American thinks you kick people out who come to your country? What American says, you got here illegally. Get out of my country. What kind of American says that? That's complete, bullshit, in my opinion. Any American that says, get out of this country, you don't deserve to be here. That's just totally ridiculous in my mind. Our cold, our huddled, our wary, our the dregs of society. That's what America was. It said, America was like this little country that couldn't, and so America went on this marketing campaign and said, look, we will accept the worst of society. And you know why? Because America was a fucking boondock. All right, America, existed as a forest, and nobody wanted to come to a forest that was inhabited by a bunch of savage Indians who would kill people. The horror stories were, or those horror stories of Indians were true. And the reason why is because we were coming and taking their land. When you fight tooth and nail for your land, and like, and then you could probably say, oh well, gee, the Native Americans fought tooth and nail to keep their land. Now the white guys are fighting tooth and nail to keep their land from the Mexicans. Crazy thought, huh? But, it's just ridiculous that, because here's the other thing. Where were these people living? Watch a good show called 30 Days, and watch the one, a guy who's a Minuteman. He's from Cuba originally, but he's a Minuteman, and he goes to live with some illegal immigrants in Los Angeles for 30 days. And they're just kind of like tootling around, doing their thing, and they're so dirt poor. Don't think that immigrants that come to America are living up and stealing money from your wallet. They're just doing a job at a poorer pace, and because the employer can get away with it. We have an underclass slave class of people. How can we as Americans treat our fellow American? Because they're American by proxy. They choose to be here. That's the thing. If you choose to be in my country, you better choose to accept everything about it. And you know what? They do. So, it's crazy. It's crazy, this whole thing about, this illegal immigrants and stuff like that. Because people who, are dying in droves. They get packed into these cars and driven out someplace and left to cook and die. And they find them, a week or whatever later. And some of them are alive. Imagine what horror that is to go through. And all to come to America to live where it's safe. And here we are as Americans saying, oh, we don't want this. And oh, we have problems, we have poor. And and I think that's a cop-out thing too. Then we are purposely, you gotta realize the government. The way the government works is that we can encourage things. They can break up monopolies. Guess what? Walmart is a monopoly. I like Walmart. I like shopping there. But at the same time, it's man, all these that's what South Park pointed out. So all these other shops leave. They can't support. And so, Walmart's trying to compensate, so they're hiring all the people. But it's in some places, where there's kind of a higher population density, that means a lot of mom and pop shops dry up. How did Hawaii compensate with this? They're called the ABC stores. Every 50 feet, there's a store, and it sells the exact same thing. And the reason why is because it kept all these people employed. It was an island population. They had to have constant employment. They create all these little, little souvenir shops along this one stretch. And you get the same stuff in each one. And why? It's because, it keeps people employed. And it helps out with tourists. It helps out with foot traffic. That was an idea of how to organize society. That's the stuff I dig. That's why I'm telling you this. You can organize your society in a certain way. And if you want a really extreme example, the Spartans did it way back hundreds of years ago, and 300 Spartans. I'm going to inform you guys about 300 Spartans because a lot of you guys ain't history nerds like me. So this is the thing about Spartans, right? Spartans were part of the Greeks. The Greeks were like, they considered themselves high in the horse, kind of, intelligent people. They basically thought of themselves, we are the only keepers of knowledge. And they kind of had that, and the reason why is because they were able to start recording their knowledge. So that's the key to advantage. They knew how to write. And when you can write, guess what? Your knowledge extends beyond the lifetime of one person. So that's why writing down, recording what you do and what you create, great idea. Never repress, never hold back an idea. Always share. Always think of something. Because you never know. We could, somebody could come up with a theory of an engine that runs on water. And it's like, but, everybody's like, oh, but how can I make money off of it? How can I make money off of it? It's like, what? Who knows? Who cares? Maybe somebody will give you money out of the benevolence of their heart. And the reason why is because you're sharing knowledge. You're sharing a story. You're sharing the cure for cancer. You're sharing whatever. You're sharing like the truth about something. Like about something horrible you did, and it's like, so you go to jail for it. But hey, you know what? Somebody goes to bed feeling better about themselves because they are feeling better about whatever. Because they know who the killer was, or they know that this is bad, and they've absolved the sin and this and that. I mean, that's the other thing is that guilt is a big problem with ourselves. And that's and guilt is like one reason why a lot of people go to therapists, because they're guilty about stuff. And there's all these weird forms of guilt, So and how do you live? And you have guilt because people live together, people interact together. So that's another interesting aspect. Some people, they like to live alone, but the thing is, you need a human interaction. So don't totally isolate yourself either. Always try to find a way to interact with your fellow man. And especially in a good, positive way. Church, go to church. Soccer club, soccer club. Sitting around a group of guys drinking beer, watching sports, go for it. I mean, hey, whatever. If it makes you social, if it makes you feel good about yourself, and make you feel, because human interaction, it kind of generates, it's a good, positive energy that it's caused. And I know it's a weird thing, but yeah, it exists. Interact with other people. So, and with good people too. Because realize this, there are some bad people out there, people who will use you. So, something else to consider. How else do I influence society? Getting animals, getting pets, kind of good or bad, because you are now responsible for the life and livelihood of another living thing. So, like even getting plants. So, I kind of wouldn't want that. I mean, at the same time, though, I love dogs, and I love having a little dog, especially the tiny dogs and the pugs. Pugs, which I realize now, they're the ugliest, cutest little things ever. And I think, too, that I think the Chinese were trying to breed a dog to look like a man. I have this weird notion that's what they were going for. Because when you look at the skull of a pug, it looks kind of similar to a human skull. And I'm looking at my little pug, and it's like, wait, this looks like Yoda. And, who's Yoda? Yoda's this green little man. And he's also like this sage, man in a robe. And really, you can almost say Yoda is this this Eastern, like Chinese, silk painting, caricature of a person. I mean, it's like, yeah, that's my opinion. That's what it is. So yeah, once again, George Lucas. I mean, like all these ideas, but they're stolen. They're taken from elsewhere. They're not an original idea.